Hey guys, what's up? It's coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides Witchlaw, and I can't say that this morning has been too great, but like it is what it is. I mean, I'm probably still gonna be like pretty on time, so I'm not gonna. Well, I don't know, because I really kind of sat there for a while, for a good few minutes because I want to give my car like a chance to start. I really want to get out of the habit of just starting it and going. I mean, it's like I probably give it enough time, I probably do, but I want to work on that. I want to give it a little more, just, a little more time for it to start, the engine to wake up, you know. But yeah, my weekend was okay. Got a little bit of cleaning done finally, so that's something. The room is in better condition after this weekend than it was before it, which it's probably been actually like a very long time since that has been the case. Usually, after a weekend, it will be in slightly worse condition than it was before. So, that's some good news, that's some good news. And yeah, I mean, overall, like, I had some fun moments during the weekend. It was a different kind of weekend, and it was okay. But the week has come again fairly quick, and not really sure how thrilled I am about that. So, but yeah, like I said, I actually think I'll be making all right time. Like, I don't really feel that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel like. Yeah, I'm probably gonna make okay time. Probably gonna make okay time. Just like okay though. Like I really want to get into a habit where like I really wake up earlier. But I just don't think I can do that without the mania. Because I literally remember when I had that mania, like I was waking up an hour before I typically do now. Although I believe, and my memory's a bit shaky, but I believe I wasn't getting to work as early either. So I think I'm sort of an illusion. Like it like feels like I had way more time in the morning, but I think it's because I probably left the house 30 minutes later back then. So on top of waking up an hour early, like it was crazy. It was like a high momentum life, and then I was also sleeping a lot better. I was like very laser focused on like going to bed with no phone, you know what I mean, and like no phone before bed. And so it was working, but I was getting like 6 hours of sleep and stuff, so that wasn't really great. But yeah, I mean, at least today it was just one of those mornings. Like it was just kind of hard getting up. I kind of feel like I didn't have a cold for like a couple days there, but then now kind of feel like I have like a little bit of a cold, but not really anything crazy, like just a runny nose. Um, and yeah, just to kind of mention it because I know I already talked about it before on the show, but just because it's on my mind, I still have never gotten a cough after my carnivore diet, and which isn't even a full blown carnivore diet, but it's just been like a mostly ground beef and cheese diet and a minimal grain diet. And yeah. I don't know, for whatever reason, like I still get runny nose. I still I still get a runny nose. I still get like a sore throat maybe, but I've never coughed in a year and a half. It's not like I've never coughed. I think my throat might still get dry, and I might just have like one like light cough or something to like clear my throat. But I don't have like those like coughing fits or whatever that I hear other people have. I just don't really get coughs. And I'm going to be honest, I guess in a way I was always kind of this way to some extent, but I just noticed like when I started eating the beef that really changed the game for me. Um, you know what I mean? Like it did. It changed the game. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'll just get to work at kind of like an all right time. I don't think I'm going to be late. I don't think so. Um, so that's guess that's a good thing. Right, yeah. So like there's a few things I'm looking into. One of them is the new microphone. Pretty excited about that. Um, I feel like for obvious reasons, I have not bought anything yet. So, but probably I want to say within a few weeks I'm probably going to be tackling that. Probably. Not sure yet, but I'm very interested in just because kind of what I'm realizing is I actually might prefer this mic for my always use anyway, because it's the same, it's a similar form factor to this Rode HS2, except it's just much better at background noise repelling. And since I'm not dealing with a treated room, I'm probably going to be able to make it sound better than my other mics because of the just like the noise rejection capabilities of it. Because like a standard mic is not, it's not that strict about noise rejection. But if you get some of these mics, like some of them are more built for noise rejection. And when you have like a desktop mic, you do have to have a little bit of leniency because obviously your proximity to it is going to be different, you know. But yeah, we'll see. I think this could be like a pretty cool thing, honestly. I think it could be cool. I might end up using it as my regular mic as well because that just might be like what we doing, you know? So yeah. Oh, it's cool, fun. It's all good. Sorry, was just thinking for a little bit. Um, yeah, I guess I get a little bit concerned though when because even like I said, I believe that, even just a few minutes later, it's like the amount of traffic changes exponentially. I really do just think like every little bit counts. Every Ooh, did not mean to do that. Kind of startled me. Um, but yeah, I do like anecdotally. That's what I notice for sure. Notice that anecdotally. But yeah, so I don't know. I should just get the microphone thing out of the way. Even though I'm kind of at a point now where I feel like my speaking on this episode isn't really too great. It's like, well, not on this episode, just in general. Like, I felt like I really was having a run at it. I felt like for a little bit, I was like legitimately like doing great. And then now it's like, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? It's just how I feel about things. I haven't felt like the past like slew of episodes have been some of my best work. I still think the walks with Schla period was probably, the most interesting maybe. I don't know, because I think I said a lot of crazy things during that period, and I don't know that I'm really going to be able to stand by much of it, but in terms of how interesting the episodes were, I think they were pretty interesting episodes. You know what I mean? So, I feel like that's a good thing to keep in mind. They were pretty interesting episodes. A lot of those walks with Schla, like towards the end, or maybe even just that whole like walks with Schla period, a lot of those were honestly better than the car rides with Schla. Like I've said, I honestly think the car rides with Schla, it's mostly like these are almost mostly like training exercises, because it is genuinely more difficult to drive and talk. Not so much when you're just on the highway, but more like the areas like around being on the highway. They're just not so fun whenever you have to do any kind of thinking or decision making. But still, it's like while you're driving, you can have reactions to certain things. At least for me, like I always have some kind of a reaction or something to say. So for me, it's definitely more difficult to record while driving. Now, I feel like I've seen videos before, heard of people doing recording while driving, but I don't really think they do what I'm doing. Like, I think a lot of people who record while they drive, they might just start the recording once they hit the highway. So, probably like the getting onto the highway and whatever, they just wouldn't even be recording. And so that's kind of cheating. And if I did that, yeah, maybe the quality of things would be better because I'd have, you know, I'd have this much time. I'd probably have, roughly 15 minutes before I even hit the record button just to think, just to get my thoughts straight. And then most of the shenanigans happens off the highway. Obviously, once you're on the highway, it's just very like direct driving without needing to be thinking as much. And so that could result in a superior conversation. It could. But yeah, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. I will just say I'm not sure one more time. I'm not sure. Um, but it's interesting. It's interesting to think about because, yeah, like I mean, maybe it's just a me thing. I think this is something I've been thinking about myself recently. Like, I'm probably better at multitasking than the average person is. Like, I probably am, but I think I just don't really like to do it because I will admit, and this is like a whole other tangent to go on, like, multitasking isn't really possible and it's not beneficial for the brain. So, like, people who claim they're good at doing it, it's like, yeah, I'm sure there's a spectrum of like how well people can or can't do it, but I think what happens is like most things, I'm very in I feel like at least from my perception, I'm more in tune with my body than most people. Some people like to lie and make claims like, "Oh, I do fine on 4 hours of sleep. I'm fine." You know, but it's like I said, it's just a claim that probably wouldn't stand up if you observed their life and actually had a tracking of all their behavior and whatnot. Like that claim they're making wouldn't stand up. I think the multitasking thing is the same way. Everybody loves to say they're good at multitasking because everybody loves to multitask nowadays because of its addictive properties, you know? Um, just because of their addictive properties. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Um, the addictive property of, I'm trying to think. Of multitasking, because it does generate a higher amount of dopamine, and technology makes it much more seamless and easy to set up like a multitasking apparatus than, I mean, you really would have done like pre-tech. um Obviously the beginning of things like this is just like always leaving the radio on, always leaving the TV on, and but those still were not, obviously not to the same extent that like a phone is now. Like a internet connected phone, the ability for it to distract is multitudes higher. So, you know. So, Yeah, I mean, it's a legitimate problem because a lot of people love to claim they're good at multitasking and they're not, you know, and it's just like, I meet like a few people, I mean, in my life, like, of the people who claim they're good at multitasking, it's only a fraction of them who actually are. And then of just people in general, it just seems like people are just horrible at it, but everybody still likes to do it. And that's very frustrating because it's just there's no reason. Like, why would you be on a call with somebody if you're not even really able to pay attention? Like, it just doesn't, I don't understand it, you know? Because for me, when I'm on the phone with someone and I'm trying to talk to them, like, I'm not doing other things. Like, I'm doing what I'm doing with the person. Um, and so, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm just kind of. Guess I'm just having flashbacks right now to an old friend. And so my mind is getting carried away thinking about them. I haven't talked to them in years, but they made a bit of an impact on me. So I think I've tried contacting them, but maybe they don't use their account anymore or something, or maybe they're just ignoring me. Not really sure. But anyways, I haven't like tried contacting them that much. I think maybe twice within the past few years. So maybe I will try again. But yeah. You know, I'm sorry. I'll just because I've just been like thinking about all this stuff, but now here's like a topic I can get to, or maybe like a question I can ask, even though sadly I've not been having the patience to copy paste the transcript into AI, but it's kind of like a theory I have because a lot of times I call people out for having like ego or pride issues, and it's usually pertaining to this problem of like not being able to handle criticism. So, like, let's say somebody is doing something and they're being criticized for it because it's something that's like no good. Um, Obviously, like myself, I'm very okay with admitting like my shortcomings. Like I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Like I don't know, like if somebody gives me a critique that I think is accurate, I will usually agree. Now, of course, I mean if somebody criticizes me about something I do and I don't think it's accurate or really a problem, I will probably I'll defend myself, like, and I'll give evidence. Most importantly, I'll give evidence and actually like engage with the conversation. But you know, a lot of times when I'm talking to people, that's just not how it goes, and it becomes very like, you know, I will accurately condemn them for something that they did or something that they said. And I mean, this is not any one person, honestly. I've just noticed it. And in like reaction to what I said, instead of having like a clear civil conversation where there's evidence and, you know, let's say, hey, maybe the claim I made around the other person is wrong. That's fine. But let me hear some evidence so I can understand why it's wrong. But instead, I never end up getting any evidence. I just end up getting a person that gets extremely upset, and then in reciprocation, they just start like insulting me about stuff, or like saying that it was wrong for me to even insinuate what I said. And so my response to that is like that they have a pride issue or an ego issue. They have an issue with their ego, they have an issue with their pride, and then they will always proceed to deny that. Say that it's not their ego, it's not their pride. So what my question is that I still think it is. I still think that it is actually their pride or their ego, and that they're just not going to say that because they don't want to admit that. Because I still, for the life of me, you know, what I would like to believe is that everybody operates loosely similar to myself, where if they're not good at something, they have an idea about it. You know, I obviously have an idea of my strengths and weaknesses. I think everybody does, but then when somebody accuses them of it, there's like this auto aggressive defense mode that kicks in, and they just have to fight the accusation. So I guess that's really what I'm disagreeing with, because it's just like, why do we have to act like that? I don't know, you know? So. Sorry, I got caught up in thinking about another conversation in my head, but let's finish this point. So that is my theory. My theory is that it is still an ego or a pride thing, even though the other person will deny it. And I think it's due to like people not even always knowing what that means. So like, you know, if you don't know what a thing means, then if you don't know what a thing means, then you're just going to deny it if it sounds mean, you know, because if I'm accusing somebody of having a pride or an ego issue, and I also will go to say too, especially as I've been saying it this whole time, it's really more of like a low self-esteem thing, because I think I actually don't know how to articulate this properly, because I guess in some ways you could claim my self-esteem isn't always high. You know, it is. I mean, maybe for some things I have a high self-esteem, but I feel like, you know, for the most part, my self-esteem is not really all that high, personally. I don't feel that way, at least. And I think that matters a lot too, because if you're in, it's like an insecurity thing. I don't think I'm as insecure about my flaws, or as like unwilling to talk about them, or I've probably thought about them more and understand myself more than most people. I'd assume, just based on, you know, again, my interactions with others and whatnot. That's just what it seems like. I don't know if that's true. I mean, obviously, it's possible I have some bias, but I don't really think I'm all that. Like, I think what I'm saying is true. So, but you know, again, what do I know? But you know, what I'm assuming is that many people, when they think about their flaws, they don't really want to think about them. I know when I was younger, I kind of like, because I have this like optimizer brain, my flaws kind of, I wanted to think like I could get rid of them. You know, like I could kind of like not admit them or not think about them and get rid of them due to some kind of like, you know, personal affirmation stuff, maybe, which that could be possible, but I don't think that approach really works or is as productive as just like attempting to find a clear, a clear what am I getting at? Just admitting it. You know, just admitting it. Yeah, you got some problems. Let's try to work on them. I think that's a better way of thinking. You know, when I was younger, it was like, yeah, I didn't really want to think about the bad. I just wanted to like try to focus on the good and try to be like changing myself to being glass half full. But that's just, I don't think that's really as productive. I mean, I guess it could be. I guess it feels powerful, maybe, to but I don't know that that's really productive, and I don't know how that, because at the time I was just like alone, so I really had more control over my thoughts and things. That wasn't like a realistic circumstance, you know. That's kind of part of the thing too. Despite my somewhat limited experience in things, like I think the amount of thoughts I've had about stuff is very accelerated. And I mean, it always has been, because really I've been thinking deeply since I was like 14, you know, and that's not normal. Like I was already kind of, I mean, it's been like a gradual thing, but getting like less interested in video games, and you know, I wasn't really playing games so much. I was learning about things on YouTube, getting into like politics and like, you know, trying to understand philosophy or religion or things like that. I mean, it changed. Like for me, that was like a more interesting prospect than just like video games, you know? And it's just like, obviously most people who are 14 are not getting into that stuff. It's just not something that they're all that like interested in. Most people who are that age, they just kind of, a lot of them at least, just want to play games, fool around, especially in this culture. in this society, it's like it's like this expectation almost that people put on other people, that they're just going to just kind of do unproductive things. Like it's like a pretty normal expectation, I think. Like, I don't know, like that's a lot of times that's how it feels like the expectation is, that I was like supposed to be fooling around during those ages. And that's really the norm. I mean, I'm sure there's a good chunk of people that did like similar to me, but I think a lot of people too that might be quote unquote politically engaged probably weren't to the same extent that I was. Like, it's just don't really believe that. I think a lot of people who are like quote unquote political, it's like they're not really at that extent or to that degree. Um, and they don't really know all that much necessarily. I think a lot of times when people are political, they're just kind of locked into a specific ideology. Whereas for me, it was more about, being informed and kind of understanding both sides, being able to like just try to construct like reasonable arguments. A lot of people just kind of get carried away, and then they might be politically informed, but then they're still spending a lot of time like playing video games or something. Like, they're not really like dotting their I's and crossing their T's. So from like a very young age, I was always like that. And even now, it's like this weekend, I don't think I played any games like basically all week. For them, I just don't really play them that much, unless it's a social thing. But besides that, I don't really play anything. Like, I don't. I'm always gonna be like listening or whatever. But yeah, no. So that's kind of my questions though. About, I just think some people don't even know what I'm saying, or if they do know what I'm saying, they just deny the ego thing, just because that's what they want to do. They want to deny it. They want to seem like better than they are, or maybe they don't want to admit how they are. So, all right, giving me problems right off the bat. My gosh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Did we do decent? I guess we did okay. Guess we did alright. Trying to tighten up our efficiency here with doing all this stuff. Alright. See, everything looks good. Alright. Well, what else can I say, really? Oh, what else can I say? At least we made it here. We did okay. What more can I ask for? Yep. Well, we made it. Good that we made it. All right, it's binge schla, and now it's time to buy schla. So, see you schla.